public opinion aficionados, and welcome to Rasmussen Reports. You are not going to want to miss this video because something happened that hasn't happened in 20 years of our polling, and it's absolutely incredible. Now, we had a really great stream last night where we talked about it live, and this is a segment from that show. But hang on to the end because just since last night, the numbers have changed even more, and we have a little surprise for you, especially if you're a Trump person. And what a day! Historic, the biggest polling, in my opinion, the Rasmussen Reports has had in 20 years in our entire history. Numbers that we've seen unlike any other point in time during Donald Trump, during Joe Biden, during Donald Trump again, during the entire 8 years of Obama, and even going back into Bush. Massive record. That means, in my opinion, really great things for America. Now, what are those numbers? Well, you're going to see, but as you'll find, there's something that maybe only public opinion aficionados can appreciate because I think they mean that people are finally starting to be happy. They're finally starting to get what they want, which is something that they just haven't time and time again. And now we're seeing it in the era of Donald Trump. And then we're also going to dump on the media because they were complicit, like we talked about, in the mainstream media gaslighting op, trying to convince Donald Trump again, the people that Donald Trump is not a popular president. And he is. Donald Trump's approval rating changes direction. This out of Newsweek. Now, Newsweek's interesting. They used to be super left leaning. They, did hit pieces on Rasmussen. They do that thing where they type a nasty article about us and then give us like 20 minutes to respond and then post it before I even saw the email. But they've actually been citing us, and there's actually some good people there. I think the guy's name's Josh Hammer, writes really good stuff. And they've been reporting on some scummy mainstream media polling, and they've been reporting on good polling as well. And it turns out the good polling is pretty good right now. So if you like that also, hit like, share this. Would really appreciate it. Hit notifications, subscribe if you haven't yet. We're going out live right now on YouTube, Getter, 2 Twitter accounts, Rumble, and even Facebook, if for some reason you like Facebook. And if you're on YouTube, maybe you can go over to Rumble and subscribe. And if you're on Rumble, listen, I know you might not like it, but it really helps us out if our YouTube channel grows as well. And they haven't censored it. Well, they kind of have, but they haven't. Our account's still there. I can still really talk about everything I want to. But again, Rasmussen Reports is supported by subscribers and advertisers only, and not disgusting dark money or political parties or any of the massive corporate media oligarchy companies. US President Donald Trump's approval rating has changed direction with a new poll from a Republican aligned company. I don't know about that, suggesting it is now even after weeks of negative ratings. Why it matters: approval ratings provide a snapshot of the mood of the electorate. There's something that does that better. But, anyways, positive polling could improve Trump's reputation and be used to justify his policy decisions. Oh, the horrors. Negative polling, on the other hand, may bolster his opposition or persuade him to change his policies. This will be particularly important when voters head to the polls in the November 2026 midterms. What to know? According to the Qantas Insights poll, shout out to Jeremy. He actually just DM'd me before we went on. He showed me something funny I forgot about, so I'll bring it up. Sponsored by right-wing news and opinion website Trending Politics News, whatever. 48.2% of people approved of Trump, while 48.3% disapproved, showing a statistical tie. I wonder if we looked at Newsweek writing about Washington Post's polls, if they would talk about how the Washington Post runs like 95% negative coverage on Donald Trump. Would they be a left-wing news and opinion website? Would they be a Democrat-aligned company? Probably not. I don't think so. Maybe somebody could check that for me. But this poll was conducted just about 5 days ago. Had a sample size of 1,000 registered voters. Yeah, The poll also showed that the proportion of those who intend to vote for the Republican Party and the Democrat Party in the midterms is even, and that nearly half of people believe Trump's second term has been a success so far. Nearly half. Generic ballots even. Interesting. Other polls have suggested Trump has a slightly positive approval rating. Slightly might be underselling it a little bit. A May 5th poll from Big Data, congratulations, Rich, found that 48% approve of Trump while 47.4% disapprove, giving him essentially a 1 point net approval rating. However, other polls have pointed to negative perceptions of Trump. A Navigator research poll, I don't know who they are, found that Trump's net approval on the economy had dropped to negative 16. That sounds really low, with just 40% approving, 56 disapproving. Whatever. Yeah, they have tip showing some bad numbers too. Well, good for them to balance right with left, although, as we've talked about, there are no right wing pollsters, as we will see tonight. But as an update, here's where Trump is at today: 52% approval rating. Okay, he's been there before. Oh, what? 46% disapprove Donald Trump is net +6 today. It's getting to the point where I'm actually concerned. I don't know. Like, I have a high Democrat approval rating. We'll look at the crosstabs. I don't know what these people are doing. Like, where did all of the insane leftists go? Like, they could be in the romper room. I have no idea right now. I really expected worse numbers for Trump from the left. And I will say that the independents have moved a little bit left over the last couple months. But this is not what I expected to see. Donald Trump doing really well because Democrats are just sitting out political polling. And of course, there's still the Trump deranged Republicans that answer these polls. Net +6 is absolutely crazy. Now, if you look again, it's been volatile because of Liberation Day in April. 52 is right in there with where he was at essentially at the inauguration. I mean, he had one night at 56. Obviously a honeymoon, but look at that short honeymoon. Again, everybody knows who Trump is. And so if he had a very small honeymoon like this, there's literally zero chance that everybody abandoned him in April, obviously. And again, there's been some oscillation with the approval index, but he's back at net zero today. Yeah, pretty crazy. Obama's second term, I think he averaged like -8, -9 approval index. So this is astounding stuff, to be honest with you. But let's look at the aggregate. Trump is underwater 4 points right now, down from a peak of 7. And we have our +6 there. Qantas has the tie. Morning Consult's only at a -6. Yeah, I would have expected like a -10 or something. There's Big Data with +1. An Economist already put out a new poll. They were one of the ones that rushed out horrible Trump 100-day numbers, and it was negative, I don't know, -11, -12 or something, back up to -8. Almost like his numbers were never really bad as they were a week or two ago. And RMG has him at tie. Yeah, good old safe RMG. And Trafalgar with a +2. So, I mean, look at that shape. Do we have what Qantas sent me? Oh, I tweeted it. I saw this coming. I definitely saw this coming. I said, this was so predictable. I had some other tweet 2 or 3 days ago where I said, watch, after Trump's 100 days, all of those bad polls are going to roll off and good polls are going to show up. And you're going to be able to point out on the chart exactly where the 100-day mark was. And it's like literally right here, a little bit to the left of this purple arrow. And look, it's playing out exactly like I predicted. Yeah, that's right. I wrote this like 3 days ago or 2 days ago. I don't even know. It's a blur. And I think it's going to continue to trace this to narrow up because, we have a whole lot of garbage down here that's got to roll off. These -11s, -10s, -12s, they were all fake. The -14 from ABC is already gone. No, that was CNN. ABC was -12. Fake numbers. Everybody knows it. Clear as can be. Just this one little slug of fake numbers, all just for Trump's 100 days. Disgusting. But I want to show you some more charts we have cooked up comparing us versus other people. Now, you've seen this, but I updated with our latest numbers. This is Rasmussen net Trump approval. Again, a little bit of volatility in the last couple of weeks, to be expected. And the blue line is Real Clear Politics aggregate, net approval. So it got down again to -7. It's back up to -4 and change. And I wanted to start with this so we can build it up because I did a little bit of analysis. So what we're seeing here is the same blue line, Real Clear Politics. And I replaced the orange line that was Rasmussen with the gray line, which is a 10 period moving average. You can still see the swings, but it's a little bit less messy, a little bit easier to look at. And then the red line is on the right axis. That's the difference between Real Clear Politics aggregate and Rasmussen. And there was a spike here where we were 4.5 points apart back in February. You can see that was partly driven by us, but also partly driven by this little hiccup here in the blue line. But look how high the difference got. And again, we came in to this whole term only 4 points to the right of the entire Real Clear Politics aggregate, not that far off. And there were periods where we were close, like we were right on in March. And then there was April, where the Real Clear Politics aggregate was 8 points and change to the left of Rasmussen. This isn't Quinnipiac's 8 points to the left. This isn't ABC Washington Post is 8 points to the left. This is the entire aggregate of the polling industry that includes Big Data, Trafalgar, Quantis, Emerson, and all these other guys. So there was a lot. And again, there was a period partially driving it where our Rasmussen numbers were high. But look, it's ticking back up there. And, if you average this, it looks like they're going to be 6, 7 points to the left of us right now. Same old crap. They haven't gotten better. And I haven't changed my methodology or numbers or whatever. So we also saw this chart, and I wanted to contrast this. This is a really good visualization of how all of those polls got dropped by these bad pollsters. And these were just randomly selected ones that I think were being the worst, the dirtiest dirty shirts. And these are all their polls leading up until the end of April. And then look at that. They dumped like a dozen polls all at once within a 4-day period, 3-day period, right in advance of the 100 days, driving down this moving average like another 6 points to the left, all for a psychological operation. But what I wanted to show you is this. This is good pollsters. I got Quantis, RMG, Emerson, Trafalgar, Big Data, Harvard Harris. I got pretty much everybody there. There might be a few I left off because they only had like 1 or 2 data points. And they're the blue line. And look, I'm actually to the right of them. Would you look at that? And we're like right on top of each other, really. Did I say right? I said left. I mean left. I'm to the left of them. I'm like a point or two to the left of this collection of pollsters. They're the blue. I'm the orange. And we're all agreeing right now, essentially. There's no daylight between me and these list of pollsters about exactly where Trump's average net approval rating is. Again, +6 today. We had like a +5 a week or two ago. It's all around net +0. It's going to be net +1, whatever. But let's look at the snapshot quick because I want to segue to right direction, which is the number. I'm sure everybody surmised it, the really big number. And oh man, maybe I should leave it below the fold. Approval index 0 today, 64% GOP, strong approval of Trump, 80% overall total approval. Democrat, again, I'm concerned. Democrat approval of Trump, 30%. Now, obviously, a lot of Democrats do support the things that Trump ran on. They just thought potentially that Kamala Harris would do a better job. They certainly don't reflect what you would see in mainstream media and left-leaning headlines. That's not like they're histrionically screaming about Trump destroying the country, including all their little virtue signalers on Twitter. But that is not what I'm seeing in the numbers here. 20% of Democrats strongly approve of Trump. Only 62% strongly disapprove. Yeah, among Republicans, Biden was getting like 80% strong disapprove numbers, like horrifyingly high numbers. He was getting like 85, 90% total disapprove numbers a lot of times from Republicans. Independents are roughly wash.
Men approve way more than women. Women are underwater 2 points. And what's weird is that the races have all tightened up. The ages have all tightened up too. It's almost like age, race doesn't really matter that much anymore. Again, not really sure what's going on. A lot of people could be emotionally and psychologically scarred by losing in the election, thinking that Mango Mussolini is going to throw them into a internment camp or deport them in the middle of the night, and so they're packing instead of answering political poll. I don't know, but here's the record: right track 49%. It has never been this high in all of our polling history. This isn't just an overnight. This is about 2,000 likely voters over the last 5 business days. This is a really big deal. Wrong directions, only 46. So it's net +3. The previous record was back in February, +1. And so this is way, way, way bigger and marks only the second time that right direction has ever been higher than wrong track. Astounding for people to finally get what they voted for. That's the only way you get a number like this. And so, again, I don't really think Trump approval matters if Trump keeps putting out numbers like this. You could palpably feel in the beginning of 2020 that everybody was chilled out and happy and things were righting themselves. And I'm starting to maybe potentially see signs like that today. Just stuff like all over the place. McDonald's announcing they're going to hire 375,000 jobs. That's a sign of optimism. Those things are going to pile up. We do have a lot of winning. I pulled a couple of things out just from the last couple of days because I wanted to illustrate the fact that these numbers here were collected May 11th and then May 5th through 8th. And so all of the winning over the weekend is not baked into these numbers. And so they might even go higher. Maybe not. I don't know. If we get to Thursday and we're still seeing 49 or 50s, we're going to print a new weekly record. And here are the weekly numbers over those 20 years. I put this chart up every time Trump hits a record, and you're starting to really be able to see. I didn't put the 49's not on this chart. It's if I really zoom in, you can really start to see there's the 50% line. And this area here of really high right direction is starting to be visibly larger than any other part in this chart. I mean, quite clearly, the only other spike that got remotely this close is right before COVID and right when Trump was inaugurated. And obviously, Obama had a little bit of a headwind because of the great financial crisis, but look at how low on average, right direction was for the entirety of Obama's term. And you can see that it's clearly higher for most of Trump, again, except for COVID, dropped about 5 points under Biden, and now it's the highest ever. Can't say that enough. The highest ever. Here's zoomed in, and would be nice to see that little blue line get over the 50% so I can finally say a majority of US likely voters in America think the country is headed in the right direction. That would be astounding. That's what we're looking for Monday. I would love to be able to do a video with that headline. First time ever, a majority. And there's so much winning, again, that I don't think's baked in yet, but you never know. The statistics are what the statistics are, and sometimes the numbers swing around. But we got Bessent sees tariff agreement as progress in strategic decoupling with China. That's right, a pause on the retaliatory tariffs between China and the US, a negotiation impending, apparently. Still elevated tariffs, I think, that the US has. And we'll see what other stuff gets negotiated, but probably a pretty good thing. Then we have this US stop nuclear conflict, US President Donald Trump's big claim on India Pakistan ceasefire. That's right. Apparently, he called them up and said, no, this isn't going to happen, or you're not getting a trade deal. And listen, I believe Trump over anything out of the times of India, but like, obviously, that's a really big lever. And obviously, Trump called up and made that claim. And obviously, they are in a ceasefire. And obviously, India really needs a bilateral trade agreement with the US. So it's pretty clear what happened there. And then I have to remove the stupid box. They have a bad pollster and they require you to remove your ad blockers. Two things that are unforgivable. President Trump takes on big pharma by signing an executive order to lower drug prices. And some people might not appreciate how big a deal this is, but essentially the US has funded all pharmaceutical R&D, and the entire world has cheap medication because of the US. RFK had a stat that I think it was in the 70s. I think it was like 74% of US pharmaceutical revenue, all pharmaceutical revenue globally comes from the US, and yet the US is only 4.3% of the global population. That's appalling, but I mean, quite clearly, it's just one more leech using regulatory capture to maximize rent seeking behavior and screw over the taxpayer donkeys. Because guess how much of that revenue probably comes from Medicaid? A whole heck of a lot. Or it just comes from people who have to, are forced by Obama to pay into these massive health insurance scams. So they have nothing right now. And here's why. They were just using the stock market as a blunt force object literally a few weeks ago. And now it's up like 16% from the beginning, from Liberation Day, essentially. Okay, Liberation Day was here. So it's up on Liberation Day, and it's up a lot from the trough following Liberation Day. So they can't even use the stock market anymore. And more importantly, people were talking about how the bond market puked on Trump and they called his bluff and they required him to scale back all these tariffs. Well, they were talking about in intraday trading, the 10-year got above a 5% yield. I believe, where was it? It was, I think, back around here. It might have been here, though. I don't know. There was a day there was a lot of wild trading. But look, it's like looks kind of like range bound right now. It looks kind of low force, like it isn't really going anywhere. So the bond market, and listen, there's been a lot of news about how huge our public debt's going to get and how big the deficit's going to be because of the big beautiful bill. And I don't see the bond market puking. That's kind of wild. But that is a lot of winning. Yeah, this happened. Republicans just released their full tax plan. This is massive. What Trump promised is actually happening, a $4 trillion tax cut that will change everything. And of course, the deficit hawks are concerned, as they rightly should be. But apparently there was a budget surplus of 260 billion in April. Not really sure how that happened. But a lot of positive things, a lot of reasons for people to be happy about the direction of the country, as they really, really are. Well, this is what I've been talking about. What do we have here? We have somebody who made a very big speech today in Saudi Arabia in front of a lot of really important people. This was picked up far and wide. Let's hear what Donald has to say.
That's good, even for this great gentleman standing right in front of me. That's a good number. We had hundreds of thousands of people. They came in at the same time last year, and last month we had, in this massive border, 3 people that got in. That's quite
He's talking
a
about his
difference.
successes.
And we have no choice but to get a lot of the people that came in, because they were not the best people. They were, in many cases, very bad people. We're getting them out. We're getting them out very fast. We're bringing them back to
They're
where
not
they
sending
came
their
from.
best.
We have no choice. After years of military recruiting shortfalls, enlistments in the U.S. Armed Forces are now the highest in 30 years, because there is such an incredible spirit in the United States of America. We have tremendous spirit again. Just about a year ago, it was a big story, front page on every paper all over the world, that nobody wanted to enlist in our military, meaning we were way under enlisted. And just last week, it came out that we had the strongest enlistment. They say 30 years, but probably it's maybe ever. They don't go back that far. It's the best, and that includes police officers, firemen, everything else. Is a great spirit in the United States right now. A brand new poll from Rasmussen just showed that the number of Americans who believe the nation is on the right track, they have a right track, wrong track, is now the highest in over 20 years. And it's hasn't been anything like this.
Yeah, he's right. Just like the recruiting. This is awesome. Senpai noticed me. Yeah, it's just like the recruiting. Breaks all the records for as far back as we have records. And just like we talked about in this segment, it's the same thing. But I think what the Trump team is looking at is the numbers that I published yesterday, the net +3, the 48% right track. And believe it or not, it's actually even better than that today, Tuesday, May 13th. Right track 49%, a new record. Highest we've ever seen is 48. Wrong direction 45. So that's a net +4 going into this term. Right track had never been higher than wrong direction. Highest we ever got was parity once. And so this is 4 points better than at any time in the last essentially 20 years of our polling. It's absolutely incredible. Numbers are just off the chart. GOP right track 71%. Independent right track 48% +2. Let me tell you, the independents do not get this high. And these are the people, the independents, driving the number up. So again, just absolutely incredible. And Trump is setting records left and right. If you want to see what the rest of the week has to offer, maybe we'll see it. Maybe we'll finally see a 50% number and have a majority of Americans for the very first time saying that the country is headed in the right direction. I think that would be pretty stunning. Follow along, like and subscribe on YouTube, Rumble. Follow us on Twitter if you want to see those results.
If you've learned something, please follow us at RasmussenReports.com, Rasmussen_poll at Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Mark_R_Mitchell at Twitter. And thanks for watching.